Could that just put him over the edge?
I'm not too sure. I don't think they did well.
He's a bully.
I'm just so sick and tired. I'm hanging on a wire, a foot over the fire, and it's burning. I can feel it inside. Done with the same cliche, done with the day after day. There's got to be a way. Now is the time to break the tide. I'll live, I'll die for what is wrong and what is right. I'll take the pain for all the ones without a name. To be invincible, we'll be invincible.
They still have a lot of holes to fill.
We'll be
Every
He
time
didn't get fired. He didn't get fired. No, he didn't get fired. He never got his contract renewed.
Welcome, 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 everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk. I'm Pawel the Cat, and my beautiful co-host.
Hey, it's Evan Rev Renners back at you guys for another exciting hour of Hockey Talk. That's if we don't go overtime.
We have a jam-packed, great show because there's a lot going on, and we have a wonderful guest that we're going to introduce here tonight, and they are brought to you by Penny Billionaires. Penny Billionaires, you heard that great intro song, Invincible. They are a great Arizona duo band. You can find them wherever you get your music, Spotify, Amazon, and anywhere else. Are we ready, Evan? Let's go.
Hey guys, we're excited to be back with our guest here, Marcus Ortiz. He is the head coach of the Smoky Mountain Wild. He's also played in with the Quad City Storm. Is that correct, Marcus?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're excited to have you on here today, Matt. Thanks for taking the time to do this here today. A lot of our followers may not know some of the leagues that you've been involved in and stuff, and so we're going to do some education for people here tonight around the hockey world. It's always exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. Anything you guys need, just fire away.
We know you're very insightful, but the question we ask every person that ever joins our show is, where did your love of the game first emerge, or was there a moment in time that someone or you somehow you fell in love with the game of hockey?
Yeah, I was about 1.5 years old. I lived in Dallas my entire childhood. My mom had me at the old Galleria Mall with the rink in the middle. And I was a very, we'll say, temperamental child. And she said, like, I was like mid-temper tantrum. All of a sudden, we were walking by the ice rink. There were a bunch of kids. There were a bunch of like mites out there skating. And immediately, as soon as I saw like kids in hockey gear on the ice, I just stopped. And so she was like, she left me there. Like, she just stopped. And I was watching, and she's like, the whole hour went by. So then she was like, okay. So as soon as I was old enough to walk, she put me in skates, and I never wanted to be anywhere else after that.
Sweet. So this is really cool because I don't know if we've had anyone that's actually started off in Texas. We know they end up in Texas, but what we'd like to know is that story a little bigger because it comes out of Texas, or is that actually what happened?
That's actually how it happened. Everything is bigger in Texas, but that story is the God's honest truth.
So how fun was it, and we'll get into the NHL side in a bit, how fun was it to get the Dallas Stars back? And I don't know if you they were already established there, if you were watching Mike Modano when he was playing at that time, because of course the Minnesota Stars moving over, and even the prospect or possibility of Houston having a team in the future.
It's huge. I mean, hockey has grown substantially even just since I was a kid in Texas as a whole. Dallas, it blew up while I was a kid, and it's only gotten bigger. Austin, Houston, they have all absolutely exploded as well as of the last 5-10 years. When I was a child, the year I was born was the year the Stars moved to Dallas. I was a huge Stars fan from the time I realized what hockey was and I was able to comprehend. First ever hockey game I went to was the Dallas Stars against the Colorado Avalanche. And so I fell in love with both teams right away. I had a Stars jersey and an Avs jersey as like a 4-year-old. And honestly, I thought Mike Modano was the second coming of Jesus. I had, jerseys, posters, everything, to the point where I didn't even realize that like Forsberg, Sakic, those guys were on the Avs, which was the game that I was watching. Didn't know anybody other than Mike Modano.
That's the most important person. And even Stewart is tuning in saying Modano for the Stars, Howe for the Arrows, a lot of hockey legends in Texas. So
yes,
as you can attest, there's quite a good, amount of people that have come out of there. You yourself have really brought it up. Now, I know most hockey players in Texas can look mean, tough. You look like a big guy that I would not want to cross. But when we found this photo, it seems like you're pretty happy. Can you tell us a little bit about this experience?
I lived my entire life, being a kid from Dallas that plays hockey. My goal was always to play hockey professionally. And obviously as a kid, that's the NHL. When I got to college, I was like, I just want to play professional hockey. Like, I don't care if it's here, overseas, anywhere. So from the minute that my college career ended and I got a chance to go to the ECHL and the SPHL, I tried to live every day as if it was my NHL because I knew it was my NHL. Like, I knew my NHL dream was over, and I absolutely loved it. But to this day, there's still no feeling that compares to being on the ice in front of thousands of fans and playing a game. I took a lot of pride in enjoying every single game that I was on the ice for.
So I have one of our texters. I just got a text here saying that you might be Evander Kane with some muscle. So hey, so you played for the Quad City Storm of the SPHL. Maybe tell us everybody a little bit about the SPHL so they understand a little bit about that league if they've never heard of it before.
Yeah. So the Southern Professional Hockey League is the equivalent of, a single A baseball. So the Southern Professional League is one step above or below the ECHL, which the East Coast Hockey League is below the American League, which is below the NHL. So those, if you can think of it as tiers, this is the lowest tier. It's a great league. It's mainly Southern based. You have Pensacola, Florida, Birmingham, Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, Knoxville, Tennessee, Fayetteville, North Carolina, Evansville, Indiana, Roanoke, Virginia, and then you have Quad City, which is Illinois, and then Peoria, Illinois as well. And I think I'm missing a team in there, Macon, Georgia as well. So
that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Coming back on your memory there.
Yeah, it's a cool league, 10 teams. You kind of play a bunch of games within your region. So
yeah,
Quad City, we played Peoria and Evansville 12 to 14 times a year out of 56 games. And then you play almost, if not every other team in the league, 2 to 4 times. And right. It's a lot of fun. It's not a high paying league. So the way I like to think of it, both as a player and as a coach is if you're really doing this and if you're really playing at this level, then there should still be passion for the game. Because if this is indeed like a chore and a job to you, then you are definitely underachieving in life.
Okay, so you moved into coaching then with the Smoky Mountain Wild. Now, what league is the Smoky Mountain Wild? Where is it located? If you could let everybody know.
So that is a youth league. I coach 10 and under and 14 and under. The league is the Southern Youth Travel Hockey League. So that has teams kind of like the SPHL. We have teams from Pensacola, Florida, both at Huntsville, Alabama, Birmingham, Alabama, There's like 3 teams in Nashville. There's 3 teams in Atlanta. We have Evansville in there, and there's a couple teams here and there from, areas like South Carolina. It's a lot of fun. It's set up really, really well for the kids, so they don't have to miss a ton of school. They'll play 4 games on a weekend, and it always starts on Saturday around lunchtime and ends Sunday before lunch. So it's a lot of games in a short time, but it's great. The kids love it. There's no time. They get a couple hours together at night in the hotel before they have to go to bed because they got to be up for a 6 a.m. game. But
wow,
they have a blast, and it's honestly been some of the greatest memories and taking me back to when I was a kid of the fun things. The dinners. You got kids from. We have 6 teams. We had 6 teams in our division of our league last year. So you have 4 of those teams are at one weekend at a time. So everybody gets 2 buys. But you have 4 teams there for a weekend. So the kids don't leave the rink because the games are so close together. So it's just like they play, and then they're just sitting around the rink with kids from other teams and watching other games and screwing around. And it's a lot of fun. And it's fun to watch the kids grow up and have fun and get better.
That's so cool.
So you've been around the rink. You've been coached. You've seen the systems. When you are coaching yourself, what do you and your team do to prepare these kids? What are some of the lessons that you want to present them so that they are good on the ice, that they can compete and bring their best game?
My biggest thing with kids is control what you can control. And I try to teach them. I had my 10U group that's now 12U. I had them from their first year of sport hockey, and the biggest thing that I try to teach them is every single time you touch the ice and come to the rink, you have to compete as hard as you can. You got to move your feet as hard as you can, and you just have to want to work. If you do those 3 things, then you're going to set yourself up to be on the ice all the time and be in the right areas. Obviously, I teach them a lot as far as structure and how to play the game and skills and all of that. But it always comes down to, in the conversation I always have with parents when I do have to sit a kid a shift or 2 because they're not doing one of those 3 things I'm asking, and I'm like, this is a life lesson.
Yeah.
You are not going to be successful in any area of life if you do not show up ready to work, ready to compete in whatever your area of life is, and wanting to win, wanting to do whatever you can to impact your time that you're out on the ice. Because if you go work a job one day and you do not want to work, you do not want to be the hardest worker on the ice, and you do not want to compete with other people and be the best, then you may not have that job very long. And so to be successful human beings, and that's my biggest thing with the kids, is just go work. Like the skills, everything else, it's going to come. And, from a skills and system standpoint, I'm really big on teaching kids how to think the game. I'm big on teaching kids how to understand situations and where to be and what to do. But understanding that at 10, 11, 12, even 13, they haven't hit puberty yet. So the execution may not be there. But if they can think it and they understand it, then by the time their body catches up, they'll figure it out that much faster. And I think that's where a lot of guys try to be NHL coaches at a kid's age. Yeah. And it's like, it's all about results. It's all about results. And I'm like, if I could see a kid trying to do the right thing and he understands what he should be doing there, I'm not going to be mad that the execution's not there. Like he's 10. He's going to trip over his own feet while trying to make a pass. Yeah.
He's already better than I am, because I would trip over my feet at this age in my 30s. So don't worry, the kid's way ahead of me.
And
you have to be able to skate. That's it.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Now, I think Stuart was tuning in a little bit earlier. He's watching, so thank you, Stuart. I mean, I think he was saying it's the Quad City Mallards. See, I'm tongue tied right now.
It used to be the Mallards.
It used to be the Mallards. Okay, so do you know what it is now? Is it something new, or
It's
is
the Quad City Storm. So
Storm now.
when I first started my pro career and I was playing in the ECHL, that was the last year that the Quad City Mallards were there. And then they folded. And then 3 years later, somebody bought an SPHL franchise. And he wanted to use the Mallards name, but the original owner in the ECHL were going to charge him like $6 million.
Wow.
For the rights to it.
You'll never make that back.
Yeah, he said absolutely not. And the Storm, like I think it's one of the coolest logos I've ever seen. Like the Storm logo is awesome.
Is this the former Arizona owner?
No, our bills were paid.
Oh man, so I have a two-part question. Just I like to get into a little bit of your ECHL experience. We'll do it in a little bit here, maybe. Just coming back to the kids. So, first question in the two-part would be, how long have you been coaching the kids? And then the second part is, have you ever had a kid, whether it's a couple years later, and again, I'm not sure how long you've been doing that part of it, come back later and just tell you how much of a difference, what you were able to do for them, just in even the life skills part of it?
Yeah, so early on, I've always said I never would have got where I did in my hockey career without help along the way. I did not grow up in a financially great situation where we could afford to play for the best teams or even afford to play travel. So when I was able to finally play travel, it was because I had help and people were able to give back. So at a young age, I was, taught to give back. So I started working with mites and learn to play at about age 14. And then I worked that all the way through high school. I also, when I played U18 AAA, I was an assistant coach for a U10 team, a U10 travel team that was out of our same rink. So I've coached for a long time. I've done lessons since I was 17. To that point, yes, I've had quite a few kids come back, and just the biggest message that I've gotten, and something that I've always kind of taken to heart, is when kids come back, it's more, you prepared me for things that I didn't know I needed to be prepared for. Whether it's going to play AAA in another state and living on your own, living away from mom and dad for the first time, and having a challenge of new environment, new team, not being the best players, going to college and playing. It's again that idea of always wanting to get better, always wanting to compete, and always working your hardest. Those three things have always been what I've gotten back from other people, and they're things that I kind of prided myself on as a player. And so it really makes me happy when I have kids come back and say, we see it, we see the value.
Well, you're going to also appreciate the fact that this fellow here, Captain Bird of Eye 4, is saying, Jesus, the effing size of Marcus Muscles. The man can lift the effing planet. My God.
That's what happens when you retire and you stop doing cardio forever.
Is that what I've been doing? I think I'm doing it wrong because the wrong parts are growing.
When I retired, I was like, I will never run unless somebody's chasing me.
Even then, I give up. Like, I'll come with you. That's great. So you talked a little bit about coaching, about your playing days. So you mostly were known playing for winger. Was that something that you set your sight on, that you wanted to play wing? You wanted to be the big goal scorer? Or did the coach say, no, you got to learn how to play center? Or is does everyone play defense? Where did that mindset come from, and how did it come about? And did you ever find it much easier to kind of get across the ice, glide, play the 200-foot game?
I'll say yes to the last part about the 200-foot game, but then I'll circle back and say the reason I played center for maybe a handful of games in my entire pro career And it was it was mainly because my coaches knew I wasn't as defensively responsible as I should have been if I was playing center. I enjoyed wing because I had limited responsibility and a limited amount of thinking to do. But also as a winger, it just, my game opened up a lot. I was able to be F1 on the forecheck a lot. You know, I kind of prided myself on playing a Jamie Benn style of game where I'm always F1, I'm always physical, I'm always creating my own space. But then, you know, if I get a chance to get my shot off, I'm going to have a good chance of scoring. So wing just kind of opened that up. Plus, I'll be the first to tell you I wasn't fast enough to play center.
So, that's fair. Stuart wants to know, and I don't know if you know Stuart or if this is just a big fan, but he wanted to know your best memory from youth hockey or a comical story from your youth days, or maybe a comical story from now.
Ooh, best story from youth hockey. Man, I got some good ones.
We've got ears.
Is this the ones that your family can actually listen to the podcast and be okay?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
Oh yeah, no, these are safe. A good buddy of mine who I played against in the Southern Professional League was a coach against me this year at the sport level, and so we were in Huntsville, Alabama for a league weekend. Our teams played each other Sunday morning at 6 a.m. So, like, it's no secret that dads and coaches and parents all together, Saturday night when the kids go to sleep, like, you stay up, you have drinks, you relax, you bend.
Yeah.
So we did that. I went to bed at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, woke up at 5, like dragged myself in. So like the kids are getting on the ice for warm-ups and I'm looking over and there's just two dads on the bench across from us. And I'm like, where's this guy's name is Jesse? And I'm like, where's Jesse? So I lean over and I ask the dads, I'm like, where is he? They're like, oh no, he's not answering his phone. So like we play, Jesse never showed up. We play. Our second game was at like 10:30. So we're still in the rink. Jesse comes blowing in well after the game. So their team played they played again at 9:30. Jesse comes blowing in at 9 a.m. And I'm like, where the heck have you been? He's like, I guess I didn't charge my phone last night. Like my phone was off, and he's like, I swear I didn't even drink last night. And then the dads are standing there like, there's no way you didn't drink last night. He's like, man, my phone was dead. Like it just didn't go off, and nobody woke me up. I'm like, it's been daylight for 3 hours, man. How have you not been awake? He's like, I swear I wasn't drinking last night. I wasn't drinking. And I was like, whatever, man. So like I saw him a couple weeks ago and I gave it to him. I was like, oh, glad you made it on time today. We've had funny stuff like that. We had I'm trying to think. Oh, it was so cold in the rink in Atlanta that we played in that my kids decided that they were going to get dressed in the bathroom that had no working lights. So like half of them were in the bathroom standing around this little area. So I walk in and I'm like ready to speak to them, and I'm like, where is everybody? And there's just like a line of kids come blowing out of the bathroom and sit down, and I'm like, I'm gonna leave that one alone.
So what's it like for rinks for you guys? Because we're talking like places like the North Carolinas, the Alabamas, and all these places. So I think a lot of people that are not familiar in those areas, we're always wondering, those that follow ice hockey, we're wondering, do they have enough rinks? Is there a lot of playing surface? Is it a fight for time? Is it something's being invested in? Is it growing? Maybe update us on that element.
So there are a lot of rinks in the surrounding areas. Like Nashville is blowing up. The Preds did a great job. And they bought up and donated so much money and land, and they built tons of rinks around Nashville. They're doing a great job. Here in Knoxville, we have one rink, and we've outgrown it.
Wow.
It's one sheet of ice. Last perfect example, during the hockey season, our travel organization has 6 travel teams, from Squirt all the way to U18, and then we have 3 mite travel teams, and then rec league. we are so overcrowded and under, for lack of a better word, we don't have enough ice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Squirts never had a full ice practice. We shared ice all year long. U14 and U12, they go 30, 20, 30. So one team's on the ice for full ice for 30 minutes. The other one, it gets on, they split ice for 20. And then the team that got on last has 30 minutes by themselves. U16 and U18 don't start practice till like 9:30.
Wow.
Our adult league doesn't start sometimes till 11. It's really tough, and our programs are only getting bigger, so we're running out of ice. And right now, our local arena that the Ice Bears play, our pro team plays out of, this past year, they didn't have any. They were having issues with their scheduling department, so like they had no ice to schedule. The only thing that was on the ice was the pro team. That was it. Like they didn't have ice to schedule. They just didn't schedule. They didn't have anybody to schedule it, so they didn't do it. So it was really tough.
That's tough. Is there any funding? Are they looking into funding or things like that in that area, or is this just a constant struggle?
It's just a constant struggle. All of the rinks are private. The rink is privately owned.
Okay.
They're not looking to expand. Where the travel organization here is a nonprofit travel organization, so they do it to keep costs down. Obviously, playing travel hockey is only about $3,000 here, which is a lot less than I've seen anywhere else, and a lot less than it was when I played. And so, in order to keep costs down, they don't save them a ton of money or anything like that. So, we're just kind of waiting on somebody. An investor or somebody to come in and build a rink, because there's a need for it. We're in a tough position right now.
But we do know there probably should be some rich folk, very ultra wealthy, watching this show. So if you're out there, get a hold of Marcus, because he needs some help. And anywhere else located.
I'll be happy to point you in the right direction.
All right.
I'm happy to take a profit, but too.
Well, I'm just kind of looking at our time here, Marcus, before you go. Let's talk a little bit about, of course, everybody wants to get to the show being the NHL, the world's best game on ice, the world's best game, in my opinion. I grew up with football and a little bit of hockey, but as an adult, it was just all hockey from that point on once I was about 17. But now, looking at the NHL, we got some teams that have just been eliminated. We got some really good series going on, some just other ones going on. Kind of what's your take? Who do you see as maybe the strong players that you see coming out as the strongest teams right now vying for the cup?
I mean, it's hard to discredit the Stars and the Knights. As soon as we saw the matchup, the first thing I said was that's the Western Conference Final. And no disrespect to Colorado, because they're incredible too. But these two teams were the Western Conference Final last year. The winner, everybody I think knew was going to win the cup. This year, I think the West is going to be hard to beat. I think whoever comes out of this Stars and Knights series is behind the 8 ball playing against Colorado, because this series has been so tough. I think in the East, it's going to be really hard to get through Carolina. I think they are the most, and I really enjoy watching Boston, but I think Carolina is the most well built to compete with the best in the West.
Fair.
Interesting. Well, so Stuart, since he's been so active in the chat today, we wanted to know who's winning tonight. And of course, I think one of the games is still on. So if you're watching, I apologize, but Kings to start, or Oilers or Kings. Your thoughts on that matchup? Can the Kings come back? Can they potentially make it a series, or will Oilers close this out? What are your thoughts on Nashville and Vancouver? Kind of in that, like anything from those 4 teams that can really come out of the Pacific?
I think the Kings can do it. I just think they need a lot more scoring from their depth. They don't have a ton of depth, but they need some of those guys to step up. I think the Oilers close it out tonight. The Vancouver Nashville series. I think Vancouver, after winning the last game, I think they have the juice to finish it off. I think Nashville has Burnett's done a great job. I mean, he's absolutely turned that team around. He deserves all of the credit for how far they've gotten, because even their roster is not the most appealing on paper.
Yeah.
But he's gotten those guys to work hard and buy in. I just think they really struggle to score goals, and I think Vancouver's figuring out how to play playoff hockey with their lack of experience. And I think Vancouver's, now that they got over that hump and they have their third goalie now has a win too, I think that they're going to finish this off. And I think, like I said, though, whoever comes out of it, I think the Oilers, whoever they run into, whether it's the Stars or Vegas or Colorado, all three of those teams should beat Vancouver and Edmonton pretty easily. I think not easily, but I don't think it'll be a surprise.
Ooh, you're gonna get some Oiler fans mad. There's quite a few followers in Alberta.
But man, I think they're good. I think they're missing, like Toronto. I think they're missing pieces.
I grew up in the 90s when I started watching hockey, and I remember learning about the game. And the one thing I remember always in the postseason was we faced Dallas and lose. We faced Dallas and lose. And this kept going on. And then the one year we got, because of course the way that the playoffs were set up with the 1-8, we came up on Colorado. We beat Colorado. What was our reward? Dallas. We lose to. Like, there was a visceral hatred for Dallas in this household because of the fact that they continued to dominate us. But Mike Modano, even when Jason Arnott went over there and the way he played, like the grit, the way they brought it. And maybe you want to make a comment on that Dallas Buffalo final. I don't know, from 1999. Do you think it was a goal, not goal? And of course you're coming from a subjective point of view. So any thoughts of that cup run and any experience you had from that?
His foot was definitely in the crease. However, he was playing the puck. And he did have possession of the puck technically. So I think it's funny that they got deeper on that rule right after that. But according to the rule that they say was there, it was a goal. It was awesome. Like I honestly miss that era of hockey. It was just so nasty. Like every single series was nasty to watch. I remember trying to stay up through that triple overtime Stars Buffalo Sabres game 6. And I remember passing out, sitting up right in front of the TV and waking up right after they scored just to the chaos on the TV. And then my mom didn't make me go to school on the parade day, so we got to go to the parade.
Nice.
It was awesome. Like watching those guys and having those guys to kind of try to, to look up to and want to emulate, I think was amazing. Much as the kids now look up to McDavid and all of those guys, but I still find it hard to believe anybody's going to beat the Brett Hall era.
So, I was thinking about coming out of Texas that, well, he wasn't born in Texas. That's where he was drafted, and is Jerome Iginla.
Yep.
Right? So he was a part of the system that brought them the rest of the team to actually win the cup. So that turned out to be a mighty fine deal for both teams, actually.
Yeah, we kind of dropped the ball on that one, though, in the long run. But he did amazing things for Calgary. I mean, how do you take anything away from that guy? He's amazing, and his kids are going to be even more fun to watch.
Yeah. Okay, so just a quick thought. Have you followed his son Tej, who's going to be drafted this year? A little bit.
Have I followed? I'm sorry?
Yeah, the
Tej Gilman, his son, one of his sons that's playing right now in the Western Conference.
Yes, I have watched.
Yeah. So do you have a guess where you think he's going to, in a real draft, not based on the rankings, but where do you see him actually going? Gotcha.
I could see him going anywhere from mid to late first round, early second.
Okay.
I'm always surprised by how many Swede, Czech, how many kids jump up in the draft from those countries, like within the last month. Like it always amazes me, and we watch these kids during U18 and the World Juniors, and you know we're like, who is that kid? Who is that kid? Who is that kid? Like you know, in the U18s they keep talking about Zetterberg, and I'm like, well, is that Zetterberg's kid? And then I watch him play, and I'm like, oh, if it is, he's going to be great. Like he's nasty, and you know, it is
true, eh? Yeah, because they have you know, you got all your European scouts and stuff like that to come over, and it's so hard at trying to, you know, especially when they're playing on a different ice surface, the style of game, how much hitting. I know that we deal and connect with many scouts, you know, over in Europe and especially across Canada and the States, and it's interesting though because none of them are focused on the analytics. They're more worried about the characteristics of the players, who they are. Like they're. As much as it's nice to know, you can see with your eyes how good they can skate, what their speed acceleration, their lateral, how good they are on their edges. Like they see that naturally. It's just amazing. But I do worry. They say these tournaments don't really affect the overall rankings, but it sure doesn't seem like that afterwards, though.
Well, it's really hard to believe that it doesn't when you watch the World Juniors and you watch the U18s and you watch the Ivan Halinkas, and you can see quite easily within 5 minutes of watching the game, the top 5 kids on each team, even if they only touch the puck once, you can tell who the top players are by the way they skate, the way they move, how much screen they cover when they're on the ice. You know, it's easy to see that those tournaments don't matter, but I find it really hard to believe, especially when it comes to the World Juniors. I find it really hard to believe that doesn't affect draft stock.
Now, when Marcus, when you were growing up and you were playing, did you engage in other sports as well beyond hockey to kind of build those skills, or was it solely, as you indicated earlier, focused just on hockey and it was day and night?
I played every single sport under the sun until I was about a junior in high school. So all through high school, I played baseball, football, and hockey. I did track and basketball in middle school. But hockey was the one sport that, you know, during the summer, during the day, like I wanted to go to the rink. I didn't want to go throw baseball. I didn't want to go, even if it was baseball season. Like I love those sports, and I truly benefited from playing all of those different sports. But I wanted to go be on the ice.
Sweet.
So, to answer your question, yes, I played other sports, but my passion was always hockey. And you know, my mom was very good about letting me choose, and at any time I could, you know, choose to do this, choose to do that. You know, she never tried to sway me one way or another. But it got to a point where I was just like, you know, I really want to focus on hockey now.
And the reason I ask is because I wonder if you, when you're mentoring these kids or coaching these kids, just in terms of building that skill, so you have the passion, you have the drive, which is something you need, right? As oftentimes people feel, well, I'm done, or it's not working out, and you seem to be go, like this is my lane. But also with the skills that you develop from baseball, the hand-eye coordination, you know, the running, the technique, the learning the game, the rules. And I wonder if you instilled that to the kids, because you want to be able to kind of say, grow your toolbox, right? Grow what you have, because it's all going to come ahead when you're playing hockey. And oftentimes in the playoffs, we see it, the hand-eye coordination. If you're dropping a high stick or a high puck with a high stick, but just barely enough that it doesn't get whistled down, right? Or the way you move laterally, whatever it is. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always told, especially when it comes to the really young kids, I've always said, when the hockey season's over, go play other sports. And my 10-year-olds are really good about it. I have a really good group of kids and families. You know, hockey season ended and all of them started playing lacrosse. And they've done that for 2 years now. Awesome. And they all play on the same team, if not against each other. And then on Sundays, they all play flag football on the same team. So they all kind of do different sports. I have a handful of kids that play soccer all the way up to the beginning of hockey season. I have a handful of kids who play, baseball. The ones that don't play lacrosse play baseball. And I don't necessarily encourage them to go play other sports, but I definitely I support it. Last year my wife was really big on she missed it. She missed being around it. She missed seeing the kids. Like sometimes I think she loves the kids more than me.
Probably.
So we went, last year we went to one of the flag football games because they happened to make the championship, a bunch of hockey kids. So we went and watched, and it's fun to see them, learning other skills and playing other sports, but still getting to be with their best friends and enjoying it, and not, a little bit less stressful than, travel hockey. Like they get to play, rec flag football, rec lacrosse, and, they finally get praised for running into each other versus not running into each other on the ice and getting a penalty. So I think that youth sports has moved to specialization.
Yeah.
But that it's moved that way from a business side, and it's not from a success standpoint. Like I think a lot of and I teach lessons as a business, but I'm the first one to say, like, if your kid is not wanting to do this or they don't want to show up, don't bring them in. Like, I'm okay. But I believe there's so many skill coaches and this and that for every sport that it is now pushed from a business standpoint that you need to specialize to get ahead, to make this team, why? Because there's a business in it. It's a multi-dollar business and special and skills coaches for every sport and every facet of life. It doesn't mean you're going to be successful. The number one thing I can't stand is when I see 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds that are, at the rink 6 days a week during non-hockey, and it's okay if you're at the rink because you want to be at the rink, but if you're at the rink because you're doing skating lessons with this person and lessons with this guy and this camp and this clinic, you, especially young kids, you're going to get something out of that 6 days a week, maybe one day.
Well, they might be at the rink because they want to be a Zamboni driver, because they know they could be an emergency backup goalie one day and get there one day in fame. You never know.
I'll tell you what, that's like being a bullpen catcher right there. That's a great job.
Oh, man.
I would love to be an emergency backup.
Yeah, exactly. It's well, we're going to have to call it a wrap here, but I was going to mention that you'll probably never have the opportunity, but if you ever do, and you're up in the Edmonton region, specifically the Brick Invitational, I always like to joke about the Brick Invitational. So years ago, I had never gone. I'd always heard about, and I always felt awkward. I talked to this with other scouts. I always felt awkward watching little kids that are 9 and 10 years old, right? That you say, oh, I follow 9 and 10-year-old kids, their career, and so it was funny. I put it into one of my first iPhones, and I put the names down that I was watching and observing. Cole Caulfield, Jack Hughes. These two kids look pretty good. We'll see one day. And I kept that in my little notes on my iPhone for years until I saw their development. I was just like, wow, it is so cool. And if you go back and look, whether you're looking at Celebrini, the Bedards, like so many now, it is definitely a tournament. So if you ever get a chance or guest coach, or you can get up there, we'll bill it you, man. We'll take you out. We'll make a connection. Or if you guys just come up for a great holiday, just come in the summer. Don't come in the winter unless you're here for the playoffs, because it's ecstatic watching the fans. So an example, the away game in LA, right? You got a full building inside in the watch party. You got Ice District full with 3,000 to 5,000 people. You got the fan deck on the other side, another, 2,000 to 3,000 people. So you had about 25,000 people downtown. Love to have you if you ever get a chance.
Absolutely. The Brick Invitational is something I make it a point to watch every year. It's so much fun. It's so fun to watch those kids, and it's really good hockey. I'm jealous. It's on my list to get up there and watch one of them.
There you go. Well, we'll make it more affordable once you get here.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys.
Well, we appreciate having you on the show, Marcus. Again, you have been a right winger for several hockey clubs. You're a big fan of the NHL. People can follow you here at Mo2V8 Hockey System. Go give him a follow on Instagram. He's got more than cats like I do on my Instagram because that's all I have. And we again appreciate everything, Marcus, for you coming on. Is there anything you want to share or promote or advertise on the show while people are listening?
Nothing, man. I love what you guys are doing. It's awesome. It's fun to come on here and talk hockey, especially in a world where everybody thinks their opinion matters. It's fun to just come on and I get to be myself and not have to listen to people going back and forth. We live in such a negative influence world, but it's great to come on and talk to people who are being positive and want to have fun and want to argue a little bit and have a good time. So I appreciate
you can argue on the show, but Evan is always wrong, so it doesn't matter. So you're going to be right all the time. It's like a winning formula.
Thanks a lot, Marcus. This has been awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cheers. Have a good night.
Stick on the ice, man. It's so
awesome.
Cool. Just love it. Guys, Marcus Ortiz, he's a head coach, played in the SPJHL he's with the Smoky Mountain Wild now, teaching young kids. He also does training and teaching. Follow him on Instagram. You'll have a blast. I've connected with him through the Facebook elements with around all our hockey, different folks that we know. Some great stuff. Like, who knows? So you guys are coming in right now. There's a bunch of you that are probably coming in around the Carolinas. You've been in Alabama, over in Tennessee and stuff like that. We want you to know that hockey is alive. Just because you don't have an NHL team sometimes, people don't recognize. We said that last week with Arizona. I mean, so much has changed down there. For example, no one knows how much development has happened in those areas. One thing we didn't get to talk to him about, maybe we'll plan another show. I wanted to talk to him about the difference in the NCAA. He played in NCAA with Div 3. And I'd like to talk about how the system works with hockey, with the NCAA, with the Div 1s and Div 3s and stuff like that at another point. So Marcus, if you still hear that, we definitely want to touch base around some of that information to be able to share. So, all right, man, we need to get into some talk around hockey.
We do. Where do you want to begin? There's so much going on.
Oh, man. My notes are upstairs. They're not in my hockey palatial studios right now. As you see, like every season, I feel like I got 4 different locations that I come from. I'm hoping to build my spot here a little bit nicer. What I'd like to do, because we're on just before we hit some NHL stuff, because we're probably not going to come off that once we hit it. I just want to kind of make mention here. So you guys will see where we go. Here we go. I got Chilliwack Chiefs, BCHL.
You want to zoom into that?
Oh, okay, there we go. Can we see it? Woohoo! The Chilliwack Chiefs. There we go. Yeah, okay. I didn't quite zoom in, but there we go. Woohoo, baby! The Chilliwack Chiefs. Okay, there we go.
All right.
That's the way I can get rid of Pawel, is I just kind of go, woohoo, the Chilliwack.
Just look at all the memorabilia that'll do a better job than I will.
So this is interesting news. I have put an invite out. They told me to connect with them. I haven't had a chance today to go directly to their site. I need to send a direct message to the Vancouver Island Junior Hockey League. If you guys go to our Facebook, follow and like us on Facebook. We have almost 900 followers that are over there. We send stuff there anywhere from 1 to 3 articles a day that are around the hockey world. Sometimes it's hockey, sometimes it's from other podcasts, sometimes it's just video, sometimes it's funny stuff, memes, just information, signings, every league, NHL, you name it. And so we get stuff out there for you guys. And I just want to mention that because through that, I noticed today it came out, we mentioned it, the Vancouver Island Junior Hockey League has decided to go independent next year. They have unanimously voted, so that means they will not be under Hockey Canada or BC Hockey. Interesting change. There is a lot that has happened now since we saw what's happened with the BCHL. Interesting enough, I feel like this is a big statement, Pawel, when it comes to Hockey Canada and the provincial hockey groups that work with Hockey Canada. So they have articles, they have all the reasons up. They're letting you know this is not going to change a lot with money in this case. It will open up ratios. You'll still have lots of BC kids that can play on those teams. I know that I don't have it booked. If you're following this tonight here, Linda owns the Campbell River Storm. Also, if you followed last season, Jalen Spooner, who was playing for the Lancers out in Ontario, goalie, she came and played a little bit with her mom's team on the Vancouver Island group. They've had some amazing players go out and make it. They've headed to NCAA. This is going to give them a closer network relationship with higher leagues like the BCHL for getting some of their students and people off the island into some of the programs and hockey. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, there's definitely changes coming, and people should be paying attention because it's going to impact a lot of players, a lot of jobs, a lot of organizations, and a lot of communities. And I think that's where you have to be mindful, because Hockey Canada has kind of lost the grip a little bit of the control they have. And if they don't fix it, we're going to be in a big problem. So, you want to see the league succeed, but and we've talked about this before, but if there's no stable ownership and leadership, it's not going to thrive, right?
Yeah. So. Well, and they've worked in close partnership with groups like the Kootenay International Junior Hockey League, and groups like the KIJHL, who, by the way, I see the Lost Trucker says she's in Cranbrook tonight. They've got a KIJHL team now, Kootenay Junior Hockey League over there. Hey, Matt, how you doing? Zanir, just trying to check. Joanne, you guys are awesome. Was it Dwayne or who was coming on asking all the questions to Marcus?
Stuart Bainbridge.
Stuart, I have your name totally wrong. You're not Dwayne. What am I talking about? I do want to mention and put out there, I'm not sure where you guys are all following from tonight. Again, I know you guys follow from all throughout North America. We kind of have pockets in the deep southeast of the U.S. and the top northeast, southwest and the northeast, sorry. And then in Canada, we mostly dominate the West. We love more Easterners to jump in. If you're a Leafs fan, we promise we won't tease you too much. If you're
they staved off elimination.
Yeah. Hey, if you're a Canadians fan, we ask that you let the Nordique back in and quit hogging all the TV revenue money is what is reported out there. But I do want to put a special note out there. I really appreciate because we send out on many different social media streams. And in just a moment, Pavel's going to tell you how you can follow us regularly and where. But I do want to put a big throw out there lately through my actual X, which you guys still call it Twitter, like Pavel. But on both of our Twitter channels right now, our X channels, that's some of the highest that are coming in for you guys watching. And we can see that, and we see that you stay on. That's amazing. And I just want to say thank you. But please send us DMs or whatever and tell us if you have topics you want to hear about, you want us to rant about. Maybe we'll send you a link to an older topic, but we cover everything hockey. And who knows, you could be the next contestant and join us as a guest headliner on one of our shows, because I do have some openings after these next few weeks lining up here. So are we ready to?
We are. So remember that we are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are on Facebook at Two Guys in Hockey Talk. We are on Twitter /X. You can find Evan at RevEv or me at Hockey_2. We are on YouTube. Go give our channel a follow. We put out content all the time. We have a website. We have articles there weekly that go up. Go follow whatever you want. And again, we appreciate you guys have made this a wonderful, wonderful podcast. And we love spending every Wednesday night with you.
All right, man. We got about 7 minutes to wrap.
We're gonna run through these. All right. I'm gonna quiz you, and you guys can let us know, and we'll see if Evan knows what he's talking about. So, Tampa Bay is out. What do they do, and do they re-sign Steven Stamkos?
This is a scenario. I'm going to call it Stamkos 2.0. He made it look like he was leaving. He even went out and reached out. I think Steven Stamkos is still wanting to stay in Tampa. I think they still want him. I think unless the ownership wants to blow it up with the GM or something, I can't see that happening. I see them making some tweaks. They got some key players. You got Kucherov, you got Hedman, you got
Vasilevsky.
I can't even say names tonight here. Vasilevsky. I mean, I don't get why you would.
Gorgachev, Sorelli. You've got some big pieces. Cernak.
and he's playing some of his best hockey right now in the later ages,
Yeah.
like Crosby. You need to hang on to this guy. I think this is 2.0. This is contract negotiation time, baby.
Okay. Would they fire John Cooper and change the scenery?
No, I don't. I think that's math. And if I can quickly come before we go somewhere else, I did call it. I did say it. The Kraken, Dave Haxtell. A lot of people didn't think that they would move out on it. And, I didn't go out and say it wasn't going to be Rob Brindamore. But Rob Brindamore right now, just earlier today, he let it be known. He ain't wanting to leave Carolina. That is not the plan. So unless he's getting fired.
It's on the table, but it's been since rescinded. So that's where we're at right now. So.
What's that, sorry?
It's been rescinded. So there was a contract in place for Rob Brindamore and the Carolina Hurricanes organization, Tom Dundon there, and it has been essentially rescinded. So we'll see what happens.
So where did this information? I never heard that, so that's interesting news. What's confusing to me is his quote is the Canes. He is not looking to go anywhere else. That's the only place. So that's kind of confusing if it's rescinded or is it being renegotiated to a different number is what he's actually looking for.
Maybe now it's going to be a different number, but originally it was the fact that there was a deal in place and they've removed it since. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it could still come back. Maybe there, logistics, legality, you guys know this, it takes a bit, but that's essentially what's been happening.
And I think, Pavel, I really think that Ron Francis, Chris Christopoulos said it when he was on. He knows him. He played with Ron Francis. And he says he thinks way ahead of the game, that his whole practice. And I think that he wants to get a head start on the interviewing because he is a patient guy. And he wants to be able to grab the cream of the crop earlier, not be grabbing someone else. And I think that's why they need a decision. It's interesting. Emily Kaplan, I don't know the legitimacy, has made statements that there was issues with the players, but do you remember
the exit interviews about not him wanting there? How much credence there is, it's hard to say.
Let's go back to the beginning of the year. A lot of people talked about how Dave Haxtell is so good. I was concerned when there was issues in between him and they talk about Shane Wright, some stuff, and he doesn't work good with the younger guys. So I don't know what's true or not. I'm not going to make up any rumor, but that's where the noise is coming out of. So, okay, other questions? Where are we going?
Before we get to that, one thing to also note about Carolina is that we should have some clarity about their AHL affiliate in the next month or so. You heard it here first. After they lost the Chicago Timberwolves or Chicago Wolves. So essentially, I got basketball in my mind as well here. That's
so good.
And so we should have some clarity because they're going to need an AHL affiliate. As you guys know, we were monitoring that starting at the beginning of the season. All right, Florida. They're moving on. What are your thoughts on Bobrovsky? Quickly.
Can I offer a thought really quick? Could the ECHL Utah Grizzlies become an AHL team, drop the ECHL, place your team there, keep the Utah new team with the name Grizzlies just outside of Salt Lake, for their team, and then that opens up another team for, I don't know, that'd be interesting. So, okay, sorry, what was the question?
Bobrovsky and the Florida Panthers and how he should be marketed so much better and how he has really revitalized his career. And I've heard in some talk circles, he deserves to go to the Hall of Fame now already, even before his career ends. Your thoughts on his play so far for the Florida Panthers?
Yeah, a guy that was going to be traded after, because they said a year and a half of bad play. I don't think it was bad play. It was bad defense. Yeah. They've never had a strong defense, even with Aaron Ekblad, when it came to like stars just a few years back, right? In the last 3 years, they've become strong. So, no, I've liked Bobrovsky from the beginning. I met one of our good friends, Jamie Basco of Flyers Nitty Gritty, who loves him as a former Flyer. Just brags on him. People kind of get upset. We didn't know. Well, there you go. There he is. He's back. He's still the same as he was last year. They were injured. They were bad last year. In fact, I think Florida comes out of the East. I think they'll be in the Stanley Cup again. No idea if they win this year, but I definitely see him back. Looking at who else is in there for goalies, you know what? I could definitely see that. I think he needs another year or two to get in the Hall, but he's going to have this run, and let's just give him one of the next two for another good run. Yeah, that's a very good point. Very good numbers.
All right. Now to the other series in the East, Washington and Rangers. Rangers moving on. No questions there. Washington, what do they do, and does Alex Ovechkin continue to push for that Gretzky record.
Man, it makes you really think, does Ovechkin go to the ownership and actually not retire a Washington Capital?
Yeah.
He's
got 4 more years.
They're not making the playoffs next year. I think that they're done.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Nobody expected them to make it this year.
Yeah, I think people knew they'd be on the edge, though. And
yeah, but they didn't think they were going to make it just because of how slow they played.
You know, it was an anomaly that with all the players they had, they just
still made it
deep enough for. Yeah, you know, when you're
Harley Lindgren kept them in it.
Listen, if it's one game at the end of the year, and say, oh, they made it. Well, yeah, they made it to get their butt slapped really bad.
Doesn't matter. They made it. Doesn't matter about Detroit. Okay. Detroit blew it. Pittsburgh blew it. Like your favorite Pittsburgh Penguins.
Do you know what? If I'm an owner and I'm looking at that and I'm saying my draft pick's five people smaller, I get 5 up on my draft, or I can get slapped 4-0 in a series and go out. There's no game experience getting that in.
Yes, it is for all the young players.
No, that's nothing. It's nothing compared to what the benefits
Evan's
of the team in the
future. Evan's just hating on all the Washington Capital fans. We're sorry
I love
that you're
the Washington Capitals.
You're just hating on them because
they
I
need
think
to develop.
So here's a question for the people in the audience, and you can answer this. Would you rather go to the playoffs and get swept in the first round, or end the season but get a higher draft pick?
Okay, hang on. Let's change that. Would you rather go to the playoffs?
You can't just change it when I'm giving you a question and a proposal. I don't like the parameters of your question, so I'm going to give you some. Okay, go ahead.
So do you get into the, because it's built around what we just talked about. Can you go into the last game of the year, make the playoffs based on the last game with other teams losing and you winning? One game gets you into the playoffs, and then what you said. Or what if you've actually got into the playoffs, you're in the first round, but you're a wild card, but you're like 5-7 wins higher than everyone else? I think it's a different question than how I answer.
I think it's the experience. You get the experience playing in the playoffs, and it's a completely different atmosphere. And even 4 games, you look at somebody like Jeff Skinner, who's played over 1,000 games, and he has yet to play in the playoffs.
Okay,
and I don't think it is. We're gonna wrap it up, but you guys can let us know your thoughts.
I see Lost Trucker in my feed has a comment about Washington.
Washington is in a better place than Penguins. They have more younger pieces, and they have better goaltending,
I don't think so.
So
I don't see that.
Well, they made the playoffs, and Pittsburgh didn't. So let's talk about that, Evan.
Oh, all right. 2 points, man. 2 points.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. What did Vince Diesel say?
Okay.
Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or win by a mile. Winning's winning. Doesn't matter if you lose by an inch or lose by a mile.
If I get in the playoffs and I get up ahead by 2 points, but I lost, I had 7 extra overtime wins, but I have less regular season wins.
Experience
and
playoffs.
I got in. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it does matter because I'm not a good team. Let's face it. It's a Bettman point. We've all know that. Let's get rid of that crap. I like to rant about that, but you know what? It's the end of the show.
It's the end of the show. All right, and because we're going off with a bang, because it ended last night. Winnipeg is out. Colorado advances.
Oh, man.
Your thoughts on the Jets and the fact that Hellebuck allowed at least 5 goals in almost every single game, if not more. What happened to this Vezina potential winner?
You know what it feels like? It feels like probably the Oilers fans felt last year when Skinner just couldn't continue in the playoffs. Great season.
But they didn't put in Brossoit. They could have put in Brossoit, who won a Stanley Cup champion the year before. They could have put him in for a game. And they won game 1 technically, but
technically.
Well, I mean, they did win, right? But
yeah.
Evan believes Hurricanes never got swept by Florida. Yeah, they got swept by Florida, and then you know what Rob Brindamore said? Well, these games are pretty closer than it is. Sure, the score said 4-0. Okay, so you can semantics here, but they still got swept, right? But Brindamore didn't believe in that. But your thoughts on Jets and what do they do? Because they did resign. They did resign Scheifele.
Oh, good.
Scoring was there, but they just couldn't get a save.
I saw someone have a New Jersey trade.
Okay.
Yeah, was it a New Jersey trade or was
it for Jake Allen or Akira Schmid or Dougie Hamilton?
No, not a goalie. It was a Toronto trade. They take.
Oh my God,
Marner.
you're throwing.
No, I'm just trying to remember. I just saw someone for Winnipeg. It was a hypothetical, and they said, okay, what? It'll be a wash if we send Hellebuck over to the Leafs and Scheifele and bring back Marner and Riley. And let's wash that out because we have Laurent Brossoit. I'm going to tell you guys, I don't think Laurent Brossoit is the number one goalie. And just because it's the playoffs, they are the freaking Colorado Avalanche. They smack the Oilers around. They outskate that team with massive skill. They block them. Makar plays solid defense.
And they're missing Landeskog.
That's if they had Landeskog this year, they'd be front runners to actually win the cup.
So he's skating with the team, but it's taken a while.
Yeah,
I don't think LTIR.
You know what I wonder if they make the
Vegas? If you're looking, that's how an LTIR works.
if they make the final Stanley Cup for the Colorado Avalanche, I wonder if they do one game like they did for Stamkos to be able to get him in so he can win a Stanley Cup. I do wonder about that.
Again, he won it before.
It's who? Oh yeah, was he playing then?
Yes, he played. He got injured after that series. Yeah, he played.
Oh, it was after the series, but okay,
Come on,
during the playoffs. No, hey, man, you know what? It's been a good night.
It has been. All right, and the final one, because I know we're two guys in overtime always. The Islanders. What does Patrick Waugh do? Does Lou Lamoriello step away, the oldest GM in the league? What do they do? Do they get younger? How do they better themselves? They changed the coach. Goaltending was kind of met. They were up twice, and they let in goals quickly within a very consecutive quick amount of time. What do the Islanders do, Evan?
Well, I think, first of all, if you were an Islanders fan, we would be called, just like our buddies from a couple seasons back, we'd be Evan and the grumpy old man. Because so our friends TJ and the grumpy old man, I can't imagine what their podcasts are like right now, dealing with it. But hey, they got in because of Patrick Waugh. His coaching was really sound. I think they have a good future. They're building around. They're trying to rebuild everything. I think Lou needs to step aside, and they need to start attracting other. They got a great building now. They have a lot of
Mark Hunter
for them.
Mark Hunter is very sought after.
Yeah.
There's a few GM jobs coming up.
And I forgot about some of that stuff. And there is talk that Lou is ready to retire. I don't know this year or the next, but it's and let's just say the rumors out there. I sometimes put it out in a teaser and I don't say stuff, but I do want to say I will tell you on our podcast because you took the time to listen here, specifically even tonight. But I do want to say that I do believe that Sullivan, and I've said this before, will be gone. So look for who could be replacing Sullivan.
Okay, interesting. Well, with that, we'll be finishing up because we've way gone over time, and I know people are excited to get back to some action-packed hockey. So we wish you all the best for the LA Kings and the Edmonton Oilers tonight as they face off, and Kings trying to stave off elimination. Woo! Remember, guys, we are here every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are on Facebook, on Twitter, / as Evan says, X. We are on YouTube. Give us a follow. We appreciate Marcus for coming on the show. He was a great and very insightful guest. Marcus Ortiz, the right winger that played in the SPCL and the ECHL. He's a big fan of the NHL. He's coaching a lot of junior and young kids right now. Big fan of James Neal and Cody Aikens. Follow him at Mo2V8 Hockey System. Evan, any final thoughts before we take off?
I just want to send out a thing to Marcus. Man, get over on X, read all the negative comments, but join us with a handle that we can remember. Love you, Marcus. Thanks again for joining us here today. Thanks to all of you who are joining us from close and afar, whether you're across the globe, finding us tomorrow morning, which is now your morning because you're going to listen in an hour. It'll be your morning over by Iceland or Kazakhstan. I don't know.
We've been to those places.
I don't know.
One of the two.
It's been really cool to see that some of our numbers have shown that every once in a while there's some people getting through from Ukraine. That's really cool. A lot over in Czechia right now. So, guys, thank you so much. The southern states. There was some stuff I wanted to talk around some of the other hockey, but we've gotten overtime, and you guys all got a hockey game to watch. So, thank you. As we say every week, in the meantime and in between time.
Keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe. All the best. See you guys next
Have a
week.
great one.
Could that just put him over the edge?
I'm not too sure. I don't think they did well.
He's a bully.
I'm just so sick and tired. I'm hanging on a wire, a foot over the fire, and it's burning. I can feel it inside. Done with the same cliche. Done with the day after day. There's got to be a way. Now is the time to break the tide. I'll live, I'll die for what is wrong and what is right. I'll take the pain for all the ones without a name. To be invincible, we'll be invincible.
They still have a lot of holes to fill.
We'll be
Every
He
time
didn't get fired. He didn't get fired. No, he didn't get fired. He never got his contract renewed.